If narcissistic abuse felt addictive, it's because your brain treated your partner like a drug. They became the unhealthy habit that you couldn't get enough of, no matter how strong your willpower or desire to quit. And today I'm going to explain exactly why that happened. What happened on a biological level that wired you to want them more, the more toxic they became. Because once you understand what was happening inside your brain and nervous system, the shame starts to fall away. You weren't obsessed, you weren't weak, you were chemically hooked. So let's break down how that happens. But before we go into the mechanics, I just want to touch on something. In addiction recovery, the first step is acknowledging that willpower alone cannot override a conditioned pattern. And that applies here too. You can logically know someone is toxic and still feel pulled toward them. And that doesn't mean that you're weak. It means you're dealing with conditioning, not just preference. For me personally, nothing shifted until I stopped trying to just think a different way or outsmart myself and admitted that something deeper and stronger was driving my attachment to him. And it was that shift from self-blame to understanding that opened the door for change. So now let's look at what was actually happening inside your brain. The first part I'm going to refer to as the pokies. The reason narcissistic abuse is so addictive is due to intermittent reinforcement. And that's just a complicated word for something that's really quite simple. Unpredictable reward creates a deeper attachment than consistent ones. Think about the pokies, or as the Americans call it, the slot machine. If it paid out every time, it wouldn't be exciting. And if it never paid out, you would walk away. But when it pays out randomly, sometimes big, sometimes small, your brain lights up. It's the best day ever, regardless of whether you won $50 or $5,000. And that's because dopamine spikes the highest when the reward is uncertain. Now let's apply that to a toxic relationship. In the beginning, you got intense attention, affection, validation, crazy future plans. Then it disappears. Then it comes back. Then it disappears again. Your brain starts chasing the jackpot version of them. And that unpredictability wires the bond. I was so prepared to wait and endure all of the pain if it meant I got to experience the euphoria of him treating me like he did in the beginning. But the truth is, and I can say this with certainty because now I'm in it, healthy love is steady. There are no crazy highs, there are no crashes, just predictability and safety. But narcissistic or abusive dynamics are unpredictable. And it's that unpredictability which is the hook. Okay, the second part is going a level deeper into when you've hit the jackpot, also known as the love bombing high. Early on, many narcissistic dynamics feel extraordinary. Fast connection, deep conversations, incredible chemistry, amazing promises. And this is the stage that floods your body with the hormones dopamine and oxytocin. And it's dopamine which creates pleasure and motivation, and it's oxytocin which creates bonding and attachment. Your brain records this person equals reward. And then it's like there's a big neon light flashing above them saying jackpot. But it's also during this stage that your brain hasn't yet recorded any danger. So when later on the warmth turns cold, your system doesn't detach because it's seen that glimmer of reward. It knows what's possible, so it just tries to get back to the high. It's the same reason people chase the first feeling of a drug. They're not chasing current reality, they're chasing the memory of the high. And just quickly, if you're starting to realize that this wasn't about weakness, but about how your brain was conditioned, I've put together a free guide that goes deeper in explaining how trauma bonds form and the exact method to start breaking free. It's simple, it's practical, and it focuses on nervous system stability, not forcing willpower. Just click the link below and it's yours for free. Now let's talk about what happens when the high disappears. And that's that withdrawal feels like danger. When affection drops, your stress hormones rise. Cortisol increases, anxiety builds, your thoughts race constantly, your sleep gets worse. Your body reads emotional distance as a threat, and it's scary. And here's the important part that makes so much sense when you understand that you were addicted. The body and brain do not like unresolved reward. When something that once gave you intense pleasure just disappears, dopamine doesn't just vanish and it's all good. You have been conditioned to rely on this chemical. And so when your system is lacking it, it goes into craving mode. And that craving feels urgent. It feels like the uncontrollable need to see what they're doing, what they're up to. It feels like holding your breath. It feels like exhaustion and overwhelm. It feels like you can't sit still or settle. You don't just miss them. You feel physically and emotionally pulled towards them. And that pull is withdrawal. It's not love. It's not the universe drawing you closer to your North Star or your twin flame. It's withdrawal. And that can feel unbearable. Tying the last 2 points together to emphasize why narcissists are so addictive, even to the most intelligent, smart people, it's that the person who is the source of your pain is also the source of your reward. And often that reward is the most intense immediately after the pain occurs. So if you reflect back to the reconciliation phase, after a big blow up and it has simmered down, maybe you have come to some kind of compromise or discovered a weak solution to put a band-aid over the wound. And it was during this time that they showed up. They were your white knight again. Maybe they were really attuned, caring, emotionally available. Maybe the intimacy was at an all-time high. Or they simply just gave you the time of day. It's this pattern that is only deepening the addiction. Because what happens is we begin to associate the pain with the immediate relief that comes afterwards. You may have even found yourself finding relief in the pain because you were anticipating with so much urgency what was going to come after it. And lastly, I want to talk about where you are now, the aftermath, why this breakup feels completely different to other ones you've had. I've experienced both, a normal breakup with someone who just wasn't the right fit and the breakdown of a very narcissistic dynamic. And I remember thinking, why does this feel like it's ripping me apart? I've handled breakups before. Why does it feel like I cannot handle this one? Why does it feel like I still want him even though I'm finally free of the chaos and turmoil? And here's the difference. A normal, healthy breakup is clean. Yes, it hurts, but it's clean pain. There will be sadness, grief, missing the person, but your nervous system isn't still stuck in survival mode. You haven't completely lost your identity and sense of self. With narcissistic abuse, it's not just the attachment to the person that was severed in the breakup. It's attachment mixed with stress conditioning. Over time, your body learned to associate connection with intensity. The high highs, the low lows, the relief after the fear, and the affection after withdrawal. And it's that constant swing between anxiety and relief that wires the bond much deeper than steady love ever would. And so when it ends, you're not just losing a partner, you're losing the source of your dopamine spikes, the person your nervous system depended on for relief, the cycle your body got used to. And that's why it feels more than just heartbreak. It can feel like panic, physical cravings, restlessness, emptiness. And now that you're free and when you can step into calm, like real calm, it can feel flat at first, maybe boring, unfamiliar, or even unsafe. And it's not because you want chaos, and it's not because healthy love or the peace that comes with solitude is boring, but because your system got used to stimulation. And if your baseline for connection became adrenaline and uncertainty, that stability feels unfamiliar. That's addiction logic, not romance. But here is the hopeful part. Once your nervous system recalibrates, calm doesn't feel boring. It feels safe. And you're most likely just in that transition period where your body has to unlearn the link between anxiety and love. And that's why this breakup feels heavier. And so if narcissistic abuse felt addictive, it's because it activated the same reward and reinforcement pathways that keep people hooked on gambling and substances. So that doesn't make you foolish, it just makes you human. And if there's anything you take away from this video, it's this. What was conditioned can be deconditioned. It starts with understanding. That's the doorway. If this gave you clarity, watch this video next on how to break the trauma bond. That's where I walk you through the practical side of unwinding the attachment now that you understand the mechanism. Because once you stop seeing it as a love and start seeing it as conditioning, everything shifts. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you're subscribed if you like this, and I'll see you on the next one.